I'll introduce our speakers today. They are talking about virtual energy networks. Chris McGuigan from WinZero in Wingecaribee, New South Wales. Justin McFarlane from ReThink Sustainability, I believe also from New South Wales. And PK Saxena from Quantum NRG and WinZero are going to tell us all about it today. And the three of them have got some very different perspectives. Chris is obviously in the community energy group WinZero, and she's got more of a group and I guess a resident perspective, as well as running the program. Justin is a bit of a guru on the platform that the virtual energy network trials use. And PK Saxena is another member of their community energy group. And he's a bit of a whiz with the data, apparently, and can show us some of the things, some of the insights that are coming out of the trials. So I'm going to pass over to Chris. Yeah, thanks very much for coming along. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting us, Juliette, and so inspiring to hear what's happening all around Victoria. I'm share with the WinZero people who are on this meeting the excitement that we're not alone, we are part of a movement, and we're all part of the transition. It's incredibly inspiring. What we'd like to tell you about today is how in the Wingecaribee Shire of New South Wales, Southern Highlands of New South Wales, which is now WinZero, our net zero emissions group, for ease of understanding, we have commenced 2 years ago virtual energy network trading. And it is quite unusual because people immediately think we're talking about virtual power plants. For VEN trading, you don't need anything but a smart meter and the same retailer, which in this case is Energy Locals. So the best way to explain it, sharing our excess sunshine across South Australia where PK is and Victoria where Justin is, it's like our bank transactions. Money goes in, money goes out, it shows up on your statement. Trading energy is just like that. There is the Energy Locals as the retailer who allow us to participate, and a NOSI Power Tracer, which provides the software and keeps track of every cent and every kilowatt hour that comes in and goes out. So it's a fairly nebulous idea to get your head around it, but once you realise it's just like your banking transactions, it can make a lot more sense.
Would you like me to share the little video, Chris?
I think showing a video is the best way. It's only 1 minute 58, so don't worry, we're not going to make you get the popcorn out. Seeing this explains probably many questions that have already popped into your head. Thanks, PK.
All right, here goes nothing. Hopefully everybody can see this and hear this.
Australia has one of the highest rates of rooftop solar in the world. Millions of households are soaking up the sun and saving on their bills. But what about renters? Homes with shaded roofs, those who live in a unit, or businesses in leased buildings. They've been left out of the solar revolution until now. Imagine if excess rooftop solar could be made available for others to buy, automatically and fairly. It's already happening, thanks to a community-led initiative called the Virtual Energy Network, or VEN for short. It's a smart, clean, peer-to-peer energy trading system that uses the power lines already running through your street. Whether you've got panels and want more bang for your buck, or you rent, live in a home without solar, live in a unit, operate a small business, like a local cafe, the VEN opens the door to energy sharing. It's especially powerful for anyone that uses energy during the day. Here's the cool part. You set the rules. Choose who you trade with. Set your price. Watch it work. It's powered by Energy Locals and a NOSI Power Tracer, matching solar sellers with buyers in real time. You can join the VEN if you live in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, ACT, or Tasmania. You have a smart meter and you're willing to be an Energy Locals and a No-See Power Tracer customer. You can leave or change energy providers at any time. No lock-in contract. Ready to help build a brighter, fairer energy future? Then join the WinZero VEN today. Visit the WinZero website to learn more.
So the VEN didn't just appear out of nowhere, and I'm going to try and share my screen with you. And I've got a little slideshow here that hopefully will progress quite nicely.
That's good.
From the beginning. So we, as our local environment group, have a number of meetings through the year and different speakers who come and speak on a whole range of topics. We were fortunate in March 2024 to have both Aidan Moore, who is attending today from Quantum Energy, and Justin McFarlane from ReThink provide input on what had been their experience with VEN trading. One of our local farmers in the Southern Highlands had a house with a lot of solar panels, energy going back to the grid for very little. He also had a dairy on the same site, lots of fridges, lots of milking equipment, and he had a shop in town. And Aidan came in to help solve the problem of his energy use. Then we heard about what Justin had experienced with the Port of Brisbane. So during COVID, when the Port of Brisbane, and you can imagine the size of an entire port that had no cruise ships coming in or out. So there was a huge amount of excess energy that was ultimately traded to other properties. So when we heard about these very large examples of the Port of Brisbane and then a farmer who we actually know in this area who were able to trade and share their energy, we thought we could have a go at that. So we had some wonderful pro bono advice from Aidan, Quantum Energy, and Justin from ReThink, and we set up our own virtual energy network. We've been calling it Power to the People because it's an endeavour that's gone far beyond just the Wingecaribee Shire. We've got people who are up and down the eastern states now, and especially through our interaction with the Deakin University study, we realised that there is VEN trading happening all over. Unfortunately, you have to be in the NEMs, so we can't access the sunshine from Western Australia at this point, although the time difference would be really helpful. We became involved in our pilot to try and hyper-utilise these consumer energy resources. So some technical terms which I'm sure you've all become more familiar with of late. We don't refer just to solar panels and batteries, it's consumer energy resources. We know there is a lot of technology. We know there is a vast amount of savings that people are enjoying with their own solar panels and batteries. But we also know there's a huge amount of resources that can't be accessed because there is a lack of orchestration, coordination. Can I just ask, is my screen in full showing or can you see faces?
It's very good.
Yeah, we can see the full screen. Yeah.
Oh, great. I have a slightly different view. So with our trial, which started organically after we heard from Aidan and had input from Justin, we started and we had people who wanted to be part of the journey. None of us really knew at that stage what we were doing. We know a bit more now and we know some of the pitfalls and some of the benefits. We've got 44 people. I counted last night to just give that direct information. There were almost 300 VEN participants in the Deakin study, which has just finished, and WinZero provided quite a lot of input and assistance for Deakin University. And we've realised that there's pretty much 4 questions that pop up when we talk about how we're going to coordinate energy in the future. And through a VEN, it's who's going to do it? Who's going to be interested? What types of consumers will want to participate? We found that it's people like we have here today, those who are highly engaged and who have resources or who are interested in accessing resources. The average VEN participant has a higher than average level of rooftop solar, battery, owning an EV, and also being a homeowner. As you saw from that little video, renters are locked out from sharing. In the main, there are some changes happening, but in the main, renters, people in social housing, people with shaded roofs, heritage homes, people who just, for the moment, cannot put on solar for whatever reason, are locked out of being able to share the excess sunshine that's available. Are there benefits? A lot of people want to know what's in it for me. A lot of people just want to be part of doing something positive, having a contribution. Many people pay for green energy on top of their regular retail supply, so they are not greatly worried that there may not be a great cost saving. There is a tradable component of energy that can be sold. So bear with me, this is a technical term, and Justin may be able to explain this a little bit more later. When we buy our energy, we're buying for a number of cents per kilowatt hour, but we're paying for the network, we're paying an environmental levy, we're paying market charges. Then there is a component which is tradable. And energy locals allow us to play with the amount that's tradable. In Victoria, correct me please, Justin, if this is wrong, it is 12.82 cents, which is available for a VEN participant to decide what they want to sell their energy for. If you have 2 properties or family, you could sell for 0. So there would be a discount of 12.82 cents on every kilowatt hour that's used. If you're trading, in the main, this is not for everybody, but in the main, what I've observed is people just split that benefit down the middle. So the seller would set their trades for 6 cents per kilowatt hour. Often that's more than feed-in tariff. The buyer would get a discount of the other half, the in this case, 6.82. So there is a balance between the buyer and the seller. For family, you could have very low rates. If it's getting close to peak time and you're discharging from a battery, you can charge higher. So just the main point is that there is a tradable component in our generated electricity. What we've noticed in terms of benefits is that there are savings, but there's also costs. So for VEN participants, potential VEN participants, there's an examination of what is my lifestyle like? Do I work from home and I can put all my appliances on during the day, charge a car, preheat, pre-cool? Do I have constraints like a cafe which only operates during business hours? Can I load shift? Can I put timers on appliances and use the cheaper energy during the day? So what's been noticed now, anecdotally from WinZero, Deakin University have a lot of data which they're going to release next week. So I'm giving you the anecdotal from our experience. For a small user, there's a behaviour effect. People will take ownership if they have set up trades, which you can then set and forget. You don't need to be on them all the time. They will work to maximise when they are accessing the discounted energy. With large users, they are getting discounted energy. They have a price effect and they buying megawatts of energy are not quite so able to change their behaviour based on the constraints of their operation. So we're looking at benefits. Yes, there's savings. There aren't great, the savings are not the same for everybody. Everyone's exports are different. Everyone's consumption is different. The costs to participate in VEN trading through Energy Locals are approximately $21 a month for a household and 32, I think it's some cents as well, for a business. So for many businesses or people with 2 properties or farms, then the business cost is not great. For very small users, that $21 a month might just be break even, or it may not be worth doing. There's also the concern, well, what if I've set up trades and I don't have enough energy? You don't need to worry. There is what we refer to as a community energy bucket, where automated trades just happen. You're never without energy. You either are buying from people who you've set up a trade with at a discount, or you're getting, again, slightly discounted energy from the community bucket, or at night time you're buying retail. So you're always with energy. You're not off grid. Anecdotally, again, we've noticed that there is a change in attitude. People self-select to participate in a VEN, then it's either for them or it's not. And it's been part of the journey. People do change and firm their ideas and become evangelists for changing their attitudes towards how energy is used, sourced, distributed. Again, anecdotally, where we do believe that there are network benefits because energy is distributed locally first. So what's going from my house right now is going to the local transformer and onwards. It's not going to a huge distribution network somewhere. So we believe that there are benefits for the network. What we need is coordination. We've got a whole lot of consumer energy resources, and we know cars are coming into the mix very quickly. Through the use of a VEN platform, we can have that coordination and orchestration so that there is a successful shift of energy use to the middle of the day, and that there are perceptions of fairness in access to renewables. We can share the benefits between the buyer and the seller, and we don't underestimate the fairness dividend. We really need to have a focus on those people who are locked out at the moment, the renters, social housing, people who are not able to afford the resources to generate their own electricity. We don't need to wait for anything. It's all there. All you need is a smart meter. And I gather in Victoria, everyone's got them already. Not quite such an issue in New South Wales. We have to pay for them, or it's often a landlord issue for some of the businesses. But in Victoria, I gather you would be well set up, and we do have a lot of VEN trading happening in Victoria now. I'm going to leave you with a bit of a teaser here. It's a bit like the Friday question. This clock face is a way of interpreting how your energy is used if you are a VENer, and it helps you optimise how you can gain more benefits from your trading. So I'm going to leave that. That's a teaser for PK to explain. When the Deakin Uni study finishes, there are going to be people who are left without any safety net. So WinZero is actively looking to support people who want to continue. We know it's not for everybody, but if there are people who want to continue, then we're happy to welcome them aboard. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I will try and explain and show you guys a little bit of what the VEN looks like in practice. One of the things I was looking at in Chris's presentation earlier which deserves a little bit more explanation, is, when you set up all these trade rules to buy your energy from someone or sell your energy to someone, it's not a guarantee that someone will be there with their kettle turned on the other side to buy your energy. Or if you got if you need energy, you're cooking dinner or something, or cooking lunch, and there will be someone to supply you that energy at the same time. So the way the WEN works really well as a community is by having a large number of people buying and selling at any point in time. So you might have trade rules set up with 10 people to buy energy from them. And there is a good chance that some or quite a few of them will be exporting energy at that time, and vice versa. As a seller, your panels are exporting. Someone in the WEN community network wants your energy. If person A, who's probably up your list, doesn't want it that particular day or that particular hour, maybe person B, person C, somebody wants it. And overall, it creates quite a bit of that balancing of the benefit both ways. What I wanted to show you, I guess, is my site on PowerTracer, the NOC platform that does this, makes all this happen. So without further ado, hopefully you can all see this fine.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the PowerTracer platform, what you land on when you log in. You can see your site. Well, I have quite a few sites, so I'm only showing you my site right now. You see the energy import side and the export side. You see the net effect of, your peer-to-peer trade rules that you set up with other people, or what's coming from the community bucket. Now, I'm here in SA, and we have fewer WEN users here in SA than maybe people in New South Wales or Victoria. So my community bucket, as you can see up here, the bits that stay green or yellow are smaller. My peer-to-peer happens to be bigger. And this retail part is what happens with the rest of the energy that Chris was explaining. When nothing is available in the WEN, like in the middle of the night, your retail is still supplying the physical electricity. And, it just goes matched to the retailer rate rather than a discounted rate. My experience has been quite positive. The way I happened to get involved with the WEN was we moved into this place in Adelaide. We were living out regional South Australia. I was teaching at a school there, and we came back to the city, and we had an EV. So I had a great big, nearly 20 kilowatts of power, solar PV put up on our roof. And that's great for charging my car. Now I can feel a bit good that, when I'm charging it, I'm not putting extra stress on the grid or whatever. But you only charge your car so much. What happens to the power rest of the time? And here comes Chris and says, hey, why don't you join our WEN? We are here in the Southern Highlands, and we're not always solar rich, so we would happily buy some of that excess power from you. I'm like, well, let's do it. And that's what's happened. You can see that the vast majority of my power is actually traded to the WEN. Only a very small portion, 5% here, that doesn't get taken by the WEN. And considering the amount of power that comes off my roof, that will happen. On the import side, because I have a lot of my own power, I probably don't buy as much of my power from the WEN as some other WEN users would. But in terms of total volumes, my total volume of power purchase in a month from the retailer is relatively small. You can see on the PowerTracer default interface on any particular day what has been your export versus your import. So that makes it quite simple. If you go into the trade rules page, you can see your individual trades that you set up with people. You just need to know the email address that they've logged into PowerTracer with. They can transmit it to you, for example, we have a Facebook page. Actually, that is showing, I have it bookmarked. That's how useful it is. So power to the people, when Facebook page, people will often say to each other, hey, I have excess power, and Does anybody want it? Or I need power. Is there anyone selling power? Like Mary here asked, looking to buy from different states, stock up on trades for winter. She's offering 8 cents. Brilliant. It's simple enough. People can then private message each other, set up some trades, and they're off and running. Back to this, and a little bit to what Chris was saying about data. This is something I found really positive about using the PowerTracer platform. You got all this interface and all this data, which normally retailers just don't give you. You want to know how your house is doing, what you're doing right with your power and what you're not doing right, and you want to fix your behavior. I heard from people, that getting grants and installing or buying portable induction cooktops in their houses and all that, you are all making changes which you think will improve on the way you consume energy and do it greener, do it better. One of the key things is being able to measure that impact and measure it yourself if you can. So this sort of data really helps. In PowerTracer, you can export out all your trade data, and that looks like a big Excel sheet, a CSV, but you can then do some very interesting stuff with it. If I may stop sharing the screen temporarily and share you something else, what I'll do is I'll share to you some of the example stuff from the way I have analyzed the data. I was doing all this work in Excel. I love doing data analysis in Excel, but I thought I need something that people can use normally, So I wrote up a little Python script and analyze it, and I'll show you the effect of some of that. So if you can see this was one of our participants in the Deakin University study, actually. They asked me to analyze their data, and I just put it through my little program, and I downloaded that CSV file from the PowerTracer platform for their site and put it through my little program, and it spat out a little graphic for me. And they could see when they were using power from the retailer, that's the red bits, and when they were buying it from the VEN, which is the green bit, saying they're buying it at a better price than normal. And you can see from the orange, not quite circle, that orange oval there, the further away from the center it is, the more expensive that power, especially at night, and closer in, it's cheaper rates. So they got that from me. The really positive story was what happened, I think, a couple of months later. Hang on, this is in mid-February, right? And I will share what the graph looks like a few months later, which is this one here. I hope you can all see the picture clearly. I can make it bigger if need be. Right. This is in April. So they can't quite avoid using power in the evenings. We're human beings. We need power. We need to cook. We need to do all sorts of things, heat our houses. But they had switched quite a lot of their power use to the middle of the day. And this is only a small site. This is not a huge power user. But they had made significant changes to the way they consume power to take better benefit from the VEN and actually make it cheaper for themselves. If I may share something that is better representative of maybe a small business. This is a cafe. I won't name them, try to protect privacy of people using the VEN. But this is a small cafe. They use the big users of power during the day. It's natural for them to be doing that in trading hours. There's a bit of power in the mornings and late in the evenings that they just can't get from the VEN because everybody's solar is already starting to peter out. But during the middle of the day, the vast majority of the power is coming from the VEN, which is great. You can see the average per kilowatt hour price dropping from about 16 cents, that's a tradable component, down to about 7 cents, 8 cents at this time, which is amazing. That's when you count the sheer number of kilowatt hours of power that cafe is using, those savings add up to quite a bit. And they're using primarily green power. I mean, it's colored green here, but really it's in an accounting way. It's counting exports from people's rooftops, which makes a really nice feeling. I think Chris has often commented that she loves the feeling of going down to the local cafe and having a cup of coffee and knowing that it was made with the sunshine from her rooftop. So I can show you n number of graphs of people's sites from the WEN that I've just put through a tiny little program to make the data look very pretty and show you how their behavior shifts and how they benefit from it. But this, I think, is a real good story. With access to good data from software platforms like this, it enables users to really take action. And the virtual energy network doesn't need you to set up new power lines or install new batteries or install new transformers or any of those things. It takes what's already out there. It allows you to then set up personal trading relationships with other members on the WEN or trade in the community bucket and actually make the best of what's there, which is great. Waste not, want not. I'll leave it there. And oh, hang on, one thing. Maybe I should quickly share this because it's happening very soon. So the Deakin study is holding a webinar very soon. If you look up maybe Quantum NRG on LinkedIn, or if you go to the My Efficient Electric homepage, I think we posted the links there. We are holding a webinar to present the research study findings and also discuss quite a bit about that. There's links to a Zoom webinar that will happen next week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, that's me. Justin, maybe I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to very quickly give a little bit of a walkthrough of the establishment of the virtual energy network and I guess answer any questions people might have and anything else that Christine or PK would like me to add. I've been working on this capability for almost 10 years on bringing it to market, about 9 years looking at how we can share excess energy that people have out in the marketplace without it just going back to the retailer for a never eroding or shrinking feed-in tariff, so that the value of that energy can be extracted by the people using that power out in the market. We initially started pulling this capability together with large commercial and industrial market participants. And that enabled us to get the leverage, to get the attention of the Australian energy market operator and the Australian energy regulators to actually fundamentally help us frame out how we needed to set this up for it to work and to make sure we were compliant and everything was fitting within the regulations, and to not go too close or sail too close to the sun in areas where we might be pushing things a little bit too hard and upset some retailers or network service providers, etc. So as of the 1st of July this year, this capability will have been fully functional or operational in the Australian market. Again, initially starting with commercial and industrial side clients. And Chris was talking about Port of Brisbane, who were one of the earliest ones that we started working with. We've also been doing a lot of work with councils. Councils obviously have a lot of assets. They have often invested quite heavily in renewable energy infrastructure. And it's quite remarkable how many of those assets have extraordinarily high amounts of excess energy at certain times of the day or the year or the week, that rather than, again, just going back to the retailer for a very small or ever-eroding feed-in tariff value, could be being shared with the community more broadly at rates that are better than the feed-in tariff for the site where the solar has been deployed, and a lot more attractive for the off-taking users of that energy than what their retail contract price would be. Today, we have residential homes. We've got every type of market participant you can imagine participating, and the great work that Quantum NRG and the WinZero community have done in pulling together at Deakin University to help actually analyse and study this will be really interesting for people. But the VEN has grown enormously. So over the time that I've been involved, we're now seeing this grown to almost 90,000 users. We're operating now with 5 different retail options in Australia. So we've been talking about energy locals with the capability that the WinZero community and the Deakin study has focused on with Quantum NRG and ReThink Sustainability. But we have 4 other retailers in the Australian market as well that are all doing things a little bit differently, but using the same power tracing user interface platform to run the virtual energy network. And where we've got large multi-site clients, they're extracting enormous amounts of value because they're saving operating costs by whatever their raw energy component is, their retail contract price is being offset for every kilowatt that they utilise at an off-taking site. And that can very quickly add up to large, very substantial financial benefits, but also the carbon abatement side of the story for people that are interested in the carbon offset or the carbon reduction using your own clean green energy rather than in states like Victoria, still relatively heavy weighted brown coal energy generation. There's quite remarkable stories that a lot of our commercial and local government customers and partners are interested in. The main interest for me in this whole idea is that there's so much energy that's been effectively wasted in feed-in tariff, not just financial value, but in just in solar resource that's been going off our roofs when we're not at home or off schools when they're on holidays for 4 months of the year and weekends and everything else. Why can't we do something smarter with that? So I'm very excited that we've been able to pull together all the right counterparties to create a solution that is now available to anyone in the Australian market where you have a virtual energy network enabled retail partner to participate in programs and work with other counterparties, take advantage of that excess energy. The other thing that hasn't really been probably clearly touched on today so far is if you're operating in Wangaratta or Beechworth and you have a family member in Brisbane or in Adelaide or in Hobart, you can actually share your energy across state boundaries and borders and still have that financial arbitrage based on the retail contract price, not wholesale spot price market trading. So the flexibility of the different options you have with your own excess energy that you'd like to share with family or community or friends or your employees if you run a business, or take from other counterparties that have excess energy is a pretty exciting thing to be able to participate in and take advantage of. Some of the really exciting things that are happening, there's a few people here from the Wodonga region, Albury Wodonga Food Share, actively now setting up a powered by the community virtual energy network capabilities so that local businesses and eventually residential homes will be able to participate in donating or providing energy at a rate cheaper than what Food Share would be paying, and other not-for-profits and charities can access through their retail contract. So again, if you're getting a 2 cent feed-in tariff, and now there's people getting down to 0.05 of a cent for a feed-in tariff, you could sell that to Food Share for 3 cents and make a several %% gain on what your feed-in tariff would have been. But in Victoria, you'd be saving Food Share 9.83 cents per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt that they put in there that they're buying. So you're helping reduce the operating costs for some of these not-for-profits or charities, etc. Of course, you can share energy with your own families. You could help your parents or your grandparents or your children or your next-door neighbour, anybody that's participating. It's a very simple process to set the peer-to-peer trades up. And as Chris said earlier, you don't have to do anything on daily management of those. Once it's set up, it just operates. If someone wants to opt out, click a button and you can exit. So there's no lock-in contract. With respect to the fees that Chris was talking about, that $21 a month to participate, that's not actually a VEN fee. That is just that particular retail plan that energy locals offer, being their local member or business member plans. They have that fee whether you use the virtual energy network or not. Other retailers don't actually charge for you to utilise the virtual energy network capability. They actually enable that at their cost. And retailers like Momentum Energy for small to medium business and large business offer the virtual energy network capability, or what they call virtual solar sharing, at a $5 per month fee. So the fees and all those things to access and participate will vary, and as more retailers come in, that competitive market tension will affect, I think, how retailers put this together, etc. You don't pay higher retail energy cost paid in the VEN. You're getting whatever the best rate or the state-based rate that retailer is offering in the market anyway, so you're not being imposed with additional costs from the retailer to participate. And you get the full flexibility of whatever the unbundled raw energy component of your full bundled rate is to arbitrage or to take advantage of sharing with other counterparties, which is pretty attractive when it's up at nearly 13 cents in Victoria. This little idea that we've spun up here in Australia is now also expanding globally. So we're now operating in Singapore, the United Kingdom, and very rapidly taking the virtual energy network capability, or the power tracer capability, throughout Europe with large scale programs with large commercial solar farms, for example, having adopt a panel program. So if you live in an apartment complex in Milan and you can't put solar on your own roof, you can participate in these adopt a panel type programs and have access for a very low fee to participate in 1 or 2 or however many kilowatts worth of energy you would like to rent or lease or buy from an institution or an asset like that, and have that come to your home for the term of your contract or the life of that asset. So that's probably enough for me to add, Chris or PK, unless there's anything else you think would be useful, but very happy to get into any discussion or question.
All right. Well, I might quickly start with one that was sent to me, which was, is there a minimum contract length if you sign up? Is a minimum contract time? And
if you're operating as a residential participant for your home, or a small business, what we would call a small to medium enterprise retail contract, under normal circumstances, they are able to be changed at the user or the participant's whim. So as you're entering into a retail contract with a retailer that's adhering to all of the standard regulations and rules of the energy market, there's no lock-in contract for residential homes anymore. You can opt out at any point in time. The larger market participants, sorry, PK, like Port of Brisbane and others, they typically sign up for 3 or 4 or 2-year contracts. And of course, if you have the virtual energy network overlaid to that, it's always there, but you can opt sites in or out of the virtual energy network if you want them to be participating or not. But you can't exit those contracts unless you want to buy them out, those larger commercial contracts.
Yeah. I just wanted to add from the customer's perspective, if you do join the VEN, there is a little bit of initial effort always in, contacting other people, like on the Facebook page or something, and setting up those initial trading rules. If you opt out, you've basically lost that effort, and that's it. I mean, it's a practical aspect of changing houses, which I'm about to do, and changing anything. But there's no lock-in as such. I could leave now if I wanted to.
We have helped people set up trades, and through the Facebook group, people, as PK said, people have indicated that they'd like to buy or sell or do both. So there are pathways to seek help. You're not suddenly dumped into an abyss with no help.
Did I understand it correctly, though, from what Justin was saying, that if you don't set up any trades, you can just elect to take from the community bucket, and then that wouldn't require any extra or much extra effort?
No, that's
Yep,
exactly
that's right.
Yes.
The only rider to that, I would say, if you're in a state like SA that doesn't have enough
Yeah.
people on the VEN yet, your community bucket is kind of tiny.
Yeah.
I can
As it
see.
grows, it gets better.
Yeah. Well, that's right. We need more people to join so that you get a critical mass. I can see Terry with his hand up there. Terry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did for Justin. How are you, Justin? We met a few
Feel
years
good,
back.
Terry?
Yeah. Look, how does your system handle batteries, or doesn't it?
Well, this is the beauty of it, really. If you look at most VPP programs at any scale, whether it's the larger multi-residential systems that are being pulled together typically by retailers or network service providers, what you find is when you look at and I've got to caveat this by saying I'm not knowledgeable of every single product in the market, etc. They change all the time. But generally, these systems end up leaving a lot of the value with the retailer or the network service provider that's enabling those solutions. With the virtual energy network, if you can create or direct a battery discharge response, say at 11 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night when the sun's gone down, that energy is treated just like excess solar would be as it goes back into the virtual energy network environment. Whatever trade rules and priorities that you've set, that energy will follow those pathways and go to whoever you've set up for it to be shared with at the pricing that you've set. There is a lot more value to be extracted doing this than there is in most VPP programs where they have other third-party interests that control and take a lot of the value from them.
Yeah, right. So what you're saying, Justin, you could say, right, I'll discharge for 4 hours at if your battery's capable, you can at 2 kilowatts an hour or something like that. That's what you do. You can set that up. It'll accept it like anything else. Because what we've got, there's been a big, increase in batteries, and a lot of people in that initial federal program are putting huge batteries, which are probably too big for their use, and that offers another opportunity to get that energy
Enormous.
back. Yeah, it's a big area. Yeah.
If you're releasing that energy when people might be paying peak rates, so up until 9 o'clock at night or whatever it might be, the arbitrageable value, even if you're on time of use pricing, is really attractive.
Yeah, I was just about to say exactly what Justin's mentioned. We simplified it by just talking about a flat rate. You can set your trade rules for different times of day, different prices. You can block out times when you don't want to export. If you have the capability from your battery to export at a certain time, then you can set trade prices that reflect much better than feed-in, but still less than retail prices. And the benefits would be quite, I'd be very interested to see those. We do have a few people on the Facebook group who are doing that, but I don't think there's been long enough to study what their results are.
I heard some.
Yeah, just one more thing. Like Tesla, I understand under some agreements they have the authority by the owner to extract the energy when they like under certain conditions. Is that something that energy locals could do?
They possibly could, but I don't know that there's an immediate appetite to do that. And again, as an energy consumer, if I put my energy consumer hat on and I look at all the very large volumes of ARENA funding that have gone out to community batteries and again, battery programs for residential and others, most of the systems when they're running, there's a network partner or a retail partner that runs it, and they do exactly what you're describing, where Tesla has the rights to extract that energy. They're not passing on whatever the full value of that energy would actually be. They're monetizing that for putting the systems out. They might be discounting prices and things for people to step into batteries, etc., and that's all great. But the VEN does enable you, if you can dispatch your battery, to treat it just like it's excess solar energy and extract the full value for both the generator and whoever you're sharing with to share that value rather than a third party monetizing it.
Very good, thanks.
Justin, correct me if I'm wrong. The VEN itself doesn't interfere with your battery or your solar at all. Like it doesn't talk to any of them. It just follows the rules that you set and that's it. Yep.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of leads in neatly to our next question, and I can see that Heather's got a hand up, and she put a question in the chat as well. That Justin, can you talk about how ReThink and Enosi and Power Tracer, like how does this work for you? Because in order to do this, you must be able to get something from it. So how do you get that?
From a Power Tracer or a Enosi perspective, there is a small cost as a software as a service fee that Enosi charge the VEN-enabled retail partner. So the retailer, in some cases, passes that on as part of their cost to the consumer. So as I mentioned earlier with Momentum Energy, if you're using up to 20 megawatt hours of energy per year at a particular home or facility, you would pay $5 a month to participate in the virtual energy or to have access through Momentum Energy to the virtual energy network capability. Under the Energy Locals plan, they actually cover that cost. There's no additional charge from Energy Locals to have access to the VEN. However, you must join their local member or business member plan that has a monthly membership fee from which they obviously pay that participation cost or software as a service fee to the Power Tracer platform, to Enosi. ReThink Sustainability, we don't make any money out of the participants in the VEN with respect to their energy transfers or anything else. We do, however, have a very good business in assisting people in the larger commercial end of town with feasibilities and assessments on how much solar should we put at a particular location. For example, should we have a battery? And what would happen if we looked at that from the conventional way? We matched the load to the facility versus what would that look like if we filled the roof up and had a lot of excess energy. So we get paid very well to run those types of investigation for large corporate, maybe councils and others, sophisticated multi-site energy users. We charge fees or consulting fees to go and do that type of analysis in that environment. We obviously don't do that in the residential home end. People wouldn't pay it, number one, and number two, we want the consumer to extract all the value. So if we're talking to a large superannuation fund that owns $100 billion worth of property in Australia, they'll probably pay us $5,000 per site to go and have a look at these investigations. If someone's got 160 sites, that's a pretty good contract for us to have to go and do that work.
Yeah,
Heather, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, just for context, those little graphs that I made are like a much smaller version of what Justin does on a much bigger scale. And while the Deakin study was running, that was a labor of love to put it together to give people some way of using their data better. But yeah,
Are you saying, PK, that those clock diagrams aren't available on the platform? They're just yours?
Yes, I had to write the program myself. If you're handy with a spreadsheet, you can pretty much do what that clock diagram does. The clock diagram, it's just easier to look at.
Yes, but that's what a dashboard is. Yeah, I would have thought that
Yes.
Power Tracer need to incorporate something beautiful like that, and I don't know, send you a packet of chocolates for the idea. Can I ask?
I think we should have a chat to Enosi about how that could happen. That's a great idea.
And I'm also fascinated. I mean, I think you could have done to explain a little bit what we were looking at in the clock diagram, but I'm fascinated to see whether there's we could all get used to looking at a clock diagram and understanding what it's saying very quickly if we got used to that idea. I do love that way of presenting it. Look, my question's about accounting. So if no behaviour changes, and I do know that behaviour change is part of what underpins this, if no behaviour changes, Energy Locals lose a bit of money from the fact that they are now the buyer is offsetting a bigger cost for a smaller cost because they're buying solar from someone, and they lose a bit of money because whatever they were paying in feed-in tariffs, the seller is now selling for more. And that's simply an accounting transfer. Nothing else has changed. Just the money and where the money goes has changed. how are Energy Local's business model changing and responding to that fact? Like, are they contracting back in the market with their big hedge contracts differently because of this activity? How do they justify the cost effectiveness of encouraging this sharing, which physically this sharing is happening anyway? They're actually encouraging you to do a new accounting transfer. So yeah, just wondered if any of you have an answer for that.
Yeah, I can have a go, Heather. And I spend a lot of my time actually seeking the next retailer that's going to come in and participate as an enabler of this capability for our communities in Australia. And I have a very different discussion with a retailer to what I would have when I'm demonstrating how the VEN works to us as market participants. We want to save as much money as we can. The retailer wants to maintain as much of the income as they can and margin as they can. So there's a dynamic there we have to facilitate the management of very delicately. From a retailer, yes, they're giving up margin when they're not supplying the energy in the middle of the day or during these peer-to-peer trade processes between virtual energy network participants. So they may choose to hedge or buy power ultimately differently. Most of them today, this is still such a small volume within their book that it would have a negligible impact. As it gets bigger, yes, they will change how they price. And we're seeing that even with people putting solar on their own roofs. It's no different. We're just extending the usability of people's on-roof solar beyond their own roof. So that will change over time, I'm sure. But the benefits for retailers are also quite substantial. You could imagine if you were a company that had a few hundred employees and you had excess solar from 3 o'clock in the afternoon because the factory stopped working or stopped producing the widgets it was making at that time or slowed down. The excess energy that business may have invested in could be going to their 200 or 300 employees. Those employees are not limited in the virtual energy network just to participate with their employer. They could also participate with their family, their next door neighbour, their friends, their colleagues elsewhere. And all of a sudden now you've got a very sticky group of customers that are coming together, because if they can take advantage of something like this, it becomes very difficult for another retailer to come in and gazump them and take that all over. It's easy to do that for one of us by a price effect in the market and say, oh yeah, I can get it cheaper over here today. If you've got several thousand people all intertwined in this virtual energy network type concept, you might pull a few loose strings and get one or two out, but it's going to be very difficult to dislodge the whole lot. So the reduction in churn for the retailer is a very, very attractive element for them.
Yeah.
And the obligation sits on that employer then to be negotiating good deals. Like, you know, you don't want to be a sticky employer and suddenly responsible for 2,000 sticky customers who are being exploited by a retailer. So
Correct.
interesting, very interesting idea. Yeah.
The market will, I think, look, we have 5 retailers in Australia today that are enabling this power tracer virtual energy network capability. And they're all doing a little bit, or some of them are doing it a little bit differently to others. But ultimately there will be, and we only had one really 2 years ago, and there's 5 today in Australia. There's probably going to be 15 in another 2 years. So there'll be market tension, which there should be, for this type of capability or these types of capabilities for retailers to be kept honest by how they're behaving in the market, what they're offering, and who wants to buy it.
Fantastic. And it sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure there'll be a few people in the Community Energy Network who want to look into this a little bit further. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say that, Juliette, by accessing the available solar that is created and then shared, it minimises the amount of generation that has to happen at power plants. So there is an incremental movement towards replacing coal and gas with the resources that are already out there that are underutilized. So it's not so much a matter of the retailer losing money by not selling. It's they also don't have to purchase. They're not having to buy those volumes from the NEM, where we are able to better utilize what is already available. That's might be a simple.
Sure, Chris. But no, that's why I distinguish between an accounting transfer and a physical transfer, right? They are not buying that coal-fired power from the NEM. That solar is going into their system and back to their other customers, but now you're interacting in the trade of it. But I absolutely see the value that the education that comes with understanding your trades and understanding your surplus leads to different behaviour. And the minute we all behave differently, we are reducing emissions. And because the retailers and the network businesses don't know how to help us behave differently, they've just fluffed along with the system as it is at the moment and done sweet FA. So we need interventions like this, right, to help people see it and interact differently with the system.
I think where Chris was going, sorry, PK, with some of this is that there is a network benefit here on scale, because if you have enough local capacity, say in Wangaratta or Beechworth, to be generating enough local excess energy, and importantly have a community way in which that can be stored and distributed. Now, whether that's batteries at individual homes or some larger scale community batteries or some industry partners that might put a battery in and they can oversize it by a megawatt or whatever it might be. If we start looking at some of these models, we do start to, and the behavioural change, which very clearly is important, we're able to start to reduce the gold plating or the continual upgrading of the transmission infrastructure between Beechworth and Melbourne, as a hypothetical example. That's where this does start to come in and be a game changer in some of these other things, rather than a market, wholesale retail market play, which it can also affect on scale, but and be affected by on scale equally. But the network side is really interesting if this is adopted more broadly.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, to give a little bit of a plug to the Deakin study that set out to basically study those interactions. If you're interested, come join the webinar. It's next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, the 20th.
Do you have a link to that, PK?
It's a big Zoom link. What I might do is...
I could circulate it after the meeting.
Yeah, Quantum NRG copy link to post. Is it okay if I put it in the chat here,
Sure.
Juliette?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a LinkedIn post link, but that will get you to the right place. But yeah, no, the study did find some very interesting things about how consumers react to the knowledge that they have cheaper energy, solar energy available. And that, when you aggregate the effect of that, as Justin said, creates significant shifts in how you then market that up the stream, up to regulators, up to energy companies. So that's
important also to note it's not just about solar. There could be a pig farmer that's capturing methane off a settlement pond. You could be turning that into energy and dispatching that back into the network to share at other parts of your farm or next door neighbours or your children that are studying at university in Brisbane. So it's not just about solar, but that's what we see mostly in Australia.
I think we had a small business wind farm join the VEN lately as well, if I'm not wrong. Somebody that has a couple of turbines on their farm in regional Victoria joined up, and we were very excited to connect with them a little bit more and maybe set up our VEN members with nighttime energy. Lots of good stuff.
Terry, I might let you ask the final question because we're a little bit over time.
Yeah, no worries. Just a quick one, another one for Justin. Right, this system will aid renters, okay, and units. Where do you think batteries in those units fits in this? So they've got no solar panels, but the economics of actually putting a battery in at that level.
Yeah, a lot of the analysis we do again at the larger scale, and I'll bring it back to the residential apartment type living in a moment, or renters. At the larger commercial scale, if we're doing a feasibility for someone that, say, had a $2 million budget, and if we were looking at them putting 1 megawatt of solar in, say hypothetically for $1 million, and a 1 megawatt hour battery hypothetically for $1 million. By the time we overlay the virtual energy network benefit of sharing energy in peak periods, they are generally going to be better off putting in 2 megawatts of solar and not putting the battery in. The return on investment will be vastly more attractive to them. That will play out in a similar way across residential apartment living and even residential homes to a great extent. However, if you've got enough battery capacity where you can rely on that offsetting the need to be running the power systems that we need when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, which is still a big percentage of the day throughout Australia, we dramatically change that discussion, but that might be about larger community-based battery type systems or integrated community battery systems, which could be in apartments using the VEN.
Yeah, but are you talking about individual batteries in individual apartments in a 30, complex? Is that sort of possible?
No, you'd put one battery in for the complex. You'd fill it up with VEN energy during the day and then distribute
What that stuff needed thing that's got food.
Sorry, can you say that again, Miles? We didn't quite catch it.
Sorry, an inadvertent unmuting. Apologies.
All right.
Sorry, who asked that question?
I don't think it was a question. Someone just spoke and they
Okay.
didn't mean to. I think.
All right. Well, we might wrap it up there, but I'd like to thank Chris, Justin, and PK. Thank you so much for coming along. That was really, really fascinating. And if we have any remaining questions, do you mind if we send them to you? Would that be all right?
Absolutely. And I'd also like to thank the WinZero people who are also on this meeting, and Aidan Moore from Quantum Energy, we can't see his face, but he is another one of the gurus like Justin, and PK himself, who make the magic happen.